Continuing with a series of shiurim on Sefer Mareh Yaakov, written by Dr. Seaman, and even though the Sefer in all of its volumes only extends to the end of Bereshit, quite obviously the concepts apply, and this week we had an excellent example in our Parsha of how the concepts apply, so I thought we would bring in from what we read in Parshat Yitro some of the ideas that certainly mesh 100% with what we're learning in the Sefer. So Alan, for those who are late.
Now everyone has to know now. The whole world.
The whole world knows.
The whole world knows. The late Alan Roberts. He died on his 60th birthday.
In any case.
You didn't get covered until you're... Oh, it's... Okay, I have a kid. I don't know... You know, what's her name? The divorce. I said, there's two sides to every story. I don't care. In her case, it's one case. You're right. I told her that. It's, everyone has to know she's the word that... I don't like this thing.
So... This week we read Parshat Yitro, and we had...
Oh, we're not doing the Noach anymore?
We're doing Noach.
But
we
just
felt that there was something very relevant to what we're doing in this Sefer.
Yitro, he didn't use only on Bereshit.
He only wrote the book on Bereshit, yes. You
so how did we get
part
Yitro?
Already on the tape. We just read Yitro this week.
Right.
So,
I know we read Yitro this week.
He's
related with Tom Elyon. Oh, yeah, you mentioned... Okay, right. But see, before we have to censor everything, for who is this that you're... I don't like it. Okay. No, because it's already... Okay, whatever.
You turn the camera on, huh?
No, this is not good for her. You don't have to. I have in the car, but I saw what's her name there. From Newfoundland. But she's at Allison's. I parked in Allison's driveway because someone. Where's Charlie? Oh, you're
Parshat Yitro has a Sefer Dibronos, has the Ten Commandments.
And
the Ten Commandments.
Right.
There are two sets of reading notes that go with the Ten Commandments. One that is when they are read publicly, and one when you're reading it privately to yourself. The one that you read publicly is called Tam Elyon, the upper cantillation, because most of the notes are notes that are found above the words, and the second is called Tam Tachton, the underneath cantillation notes. That's the one that you read to yourself, and many or most of the notes are underneath the words.
That's what the other Teflon is referring to? I always thought it was more like a higher level.
Certainly there's that concept as well. Tam Elyon refers to trying to relive the Sinai experience. So Tam Elyon, depending on which tradition you have, is read only on Shavuot, or the tradition that most Ashkenazi shuls have is that whenever it is read in public, it's read in Tam Elyon, and only when you're studying by yourself, you study Tam Tachton.
But when people study by themselves, they use the Torah? Maybe.
And
so there
are implications. When we change the notes, we actually change some of the words together with the notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the second half of the Ten Commandments. We're going to look at those short commandments. Lo tirtzach, lo tinach, lo tignov. If you look at them in Tam Tachton, it's mercha tifcha et nachta. And if you look at them in Tam Elyon, what we're trying to do by reliving the Sinai experience is to have each of the commandments separated out from each other. So even though we have a tradition that psukim are usually 3 words or more, here we have lo tirtzach, we have 2 words, and again, that's not the way that this pasuk is normally divided. That's the way that we're just saying it for Tam Elyon. But when you have lo tirtzach, and in Tam Elyon, it's a tipcha sof pasuk, and we've learned that a tipcha has a small pause after it. So we've also know the rule of beged kafet. There are letters in Hebrew that get a dot in them if they're at the beginning of the word. Beit, Gimel, Daled, Kaf, Pei, and Tav. And if the word before ends in Aleph, Hey, Vav, or Yud, that has the potential to cancel out the dot in the beged kafet of the word in front of it.
I'm sorry, go back.
However, lo,
the dot means...
So beged versus veged.
Right.
right? Bait versus bait.
Right.
So the dot in the bait can either be there because it's at the beginning of the word, but if we have the word lo, lamed aleph, that ends in an aleph, right before our tirtzach, with a tav, which is one of those letters that can have a dot in it,
But it doesn't change the
Yeah.
the dot will disappear after lo tirtzach. If you're very Ashkenazi, lo sirtzach versus lo tirtzach.
Okay, yeah.
However, we're going to see that in tam tachton,
Yeah.
lo tirtzach, the lo tinap, okay. So if you're reading in tam tachton, you have the aleph and the tav connected with a merchat tipcha, and the dot disappears. In tam elyon, it's lo tipcha, small pause, tirtzach. The aleph no longer cancels out the dot in tirtzach, so the tav gets a dot. So, what's the difference? Most people don't pronounce tav with a dot versus tav without a dot. So, the Zohar looks at this and says that of these short commandments at the end, they're all written that way with that upper cantillation to tell you that even though lo tirtzach, you shouldn't murder, there's going to be an exceptional case. There's going to be a case in which you say, lo, don't, comma, tirtzach. Normally you wouldn't, but there would be a case where you're allowed. So what does the Zohar bring? The Zohar tells us that, how does a court have the permission to kill a murderer? The court is doing this b'mezi. They're doing it on purpose. They're doing it in public. They're doing it in front of witnesses. They're doing it with malice aforethought. They want to kill this person because of what he did. So how is it's premeditated. It's 100% b'mezi. How can the court kill someone? Because lo, comma, tirtzach. There are going to be exceptional circumstances under which you're allowed to break all the rules that say that this is normally murder, and you're not only allowed to, you're supposed to. In war, when you come across your enemy, even if he doesn't have a sword, are you allowed to kill him? He's not immediately a threat to you. He doesn't have his sword. Are you allowed to kill him? Well, tirtzach. You have that permission.
I have a question.
So we're gonna go through the whole thought, and then I'll take questions on this series, just so that you see the point that they're trying to make.
You're definitely showing favoritism.
So we continue to go through the short commandments, and the Zohar tells us that there are ways to be adulterous with your own wife, and it identifies a case. However,
your own wife? Is it like a
lo taneh b'reacha et shaker? You shouldn't bear false witness, even in both tamim, tam elyon, tam tachton. That's a merchat tipcha. There's no exceptions here.
Why?
There's no pause after it. There's no the notes don't allow that same pause of lo tirtzach. It's lo taneh b'reacha. It's merchat tipcha. The two are connected in both tam elyon and tam tachton.
That's false
So
witness.
it's saying to bear false witness, there are no exceptions to that rule.
Okay.
So then we come to the last one, lo tachmod, you shouldn't covet. Well, the notes still seem to be the same as lo taneh b'reacha et shaker. They seem to be connected still. There's no pause after it in terms of the notes. So can you be covetous of somebody else's knowledge? And the answer is yes, you got the exception, but the exception comes because the Torah lists all physical possessions that you're not supposed to covet, not intellectual pursuits. So the Zohar tells us the last set of commandments, there's exceptions to the rule in all the cases except for lo taneh b'reacha et shaker, the bearing of false witness, and half of this we learn from the ta'amim and the dot that disappears in tirtzach and
it's from the dot.
It's from the tipcha with a pause with or without a dot.
I'm sorry, can you
Tignov and
give a couple
tirtzach
more
and so on.
examples? So this sort of, it's probably hard to come up with examples, but going through them, the different, I'm kind of getting the idea, but
So again, if you are the lo tignov, you shouldn't steal. The example that the Zohar brings is stealing someone's time. So specifically, if you've got a teacher who is giving you something that you really enjoyed hearing, and you want to have him say it again, you're allowed to approach him and say, you know, I didn't understand it the first time. Can you explain it again? Even if you understood it the first time, just so that you can get him to repeat it for you, so that you understood better. That's called Genevat Dat. That's stealing somebody's somebody's
really something else.
But so again, the Zohar brings that forward as the case where lo tignof. There's this thing that you're allowed to steal. Okay, so in any case, that I feel would have been something certainly that the good doctor would have picked up on. And now we're going to ask questions on this.
Those are for the negatives. Don't steal. Don't covet. Don't. What about?
So in terms of differences in pronunciation and vowelization that appears in the first half of Aseret HaDibrot, the word chol and kol, when you're referring to Shabbat, v'yasita kol malachtecha, v'yasita chol malachtecha, are a difference between Tam Elyon and Tam Tachton, but I didn't find any derivation in the chapter of Zohar that I looked through that made a difference between those two. So I'm sure there is a source that identifies it, but that's when you look at Minchat Shai, and remember I told you all of those people who are very careful to tell you vowelization and so on, they make a big deal about the fact that between Tam Elyon and Tam Tachton, there are not only words that look different, like Lo Tirtzach, which has no pronunciation difference, but you have Kol Malachtecha and Chol Malachtecha. So the way we pronounce it out loud is Chol Malachtecha for Tam Elyon.
But that wouldn't change meaning.
It would not change meaning, but again, we are certainly learning that every fine detail does have significance. It's there or not there for a reason.
So the Beged Kefed, for the Beged Kefed, those letters that spelled out Beged Kefed are the letters he's talking about. Beged Kefed. So what about Beged Kefed again?
Beged Kefed at the beginning of a word will generally have a dot in front of it. Will generally have a dot. So the Pei to the Gimel to the Dalet to the Kaf to the Pei to the Tav will have a dot. Unless the preceding word ends in Aleph, Hey, Vav, or Yud. So those letters cancel out. Those letters will cancel out the dot in Beged Kefet if the two words are connected by the trop. If the two words are disconnected by the trop, so if you have a Tavir or a Tipcha or a Zakef Gadol or any of those notes that is by itself a Melech or a Sar, one of the ones that you end on that, and then you got to go on to the next thought. So that means that the Aleph, Hey, Vav, or Yud doesn't influence the Beged Kefet letter. And I'm sure as we go through, we will find examples of that, and I'll try and point it out.
Cool. I'm sure the Temanim do pronounce it differently when there's a dot. They know.
Can I ask you a question? So is Tirtzach the imperative? Like, that it's a command to commit murder?
No, Lo Tirtzach. You should know.
I understand that, but when you have the pause after the lo,
right, it tells you that there is an exceptional circumstance under which you will not only be allowed to, but you will be commanded to.
It's an imperative. But then, what are the other definitions of Ritzah? Like, I thought it was just
the technical definition of, according to Torah, of murder is doing something with knowledge of what you're doing, with malice of forethought, that you know that you're doing this on purpose, and you haven't liked the other person in advance, and you have a reason for that, and you do it with prior warning, and you do it in front of two kosher witnesses.
Right, I see.
So it has to meet all of those criteria in order to be murder that is punishable by the courts. If you do it in the middle of a field it's still killing someone just the same, and it's still with the same malice aforethought. But if there are no witnesses, then the court doesn't have the right to take your life away. That's up to God.
So does Ritzach also mean execution? Because that's what
A sentence of death is.
Well, we're saying that even though it seems that it meets all of those criteria.
Yeah.
The court planned this.
Yeah.
They don't like this guy anymore. So they're doing it with malice aforethought. They're doing it in front of witnesses.
Yeah, it meets the definition.
And I'm sure there's somebody there saying, "Please don't do this." So I'm sure there's tatra, there's warning.
Okay.
The court has the right. How do we have the right? Anything that we have the right to do, you have to bring back to a pasuk. If you ever look through a Gemara and it defines a concept, one of the very first things it will do with any concept that it says is minalam. Where did that come to us? And we have to find a sentence in Torah that somehow derives to whatever law we're going to expound on.
On that point, speaking of Yitro, people who smoke, even though it says in that pasuk, Yishmartu nafshatech, and you should, they find, what pasuk do they bring? Exactly, they bring that the mountain was all smoking. We read it, they said, oh, if the mountain, because it's all smoke, we can smoke. It's a harkulo ashay. Can you get back to the adultery thing? That sounded interesting. When you said, I didn't get what you were saying. It sounded like that. Maybe turn it off.
It's okay. Well, we're going to
all
go
the
to
good parts.
We're going to
I'm
go
not
to
going to
Noach.
school again in associate when they skip all the dirty parts. Okay.
That's it. Well, welcome to grade 2.
Yeah, but I'm 60. I find there's one advantage to being 60. I don't have to skip the dirty parts.
We're in this Noach section
Yeah, but
on
I'm
page
too young.
13.
You're too young. Corinne's too young. I knew we shouldn't do. She's underage.
Page 13?
Page 13.
No one's suspicious that Harley and Susan are dating again, right? I mean, they're both not here. Where is Susan? Oh, it's on the thing. I'm going to say so many inappropriate things. No, what? I don't even know who this is for.
There are people in Israel who would love to hear this.
Do you hear that Susan and Harley?
There are other family members who would love to.
Schmutz. What? I don't know. I can't think of this. Okay.
Page 13.
Umikol achai, and from
Wait,
all
let
the
me find it
living,
at least. Page 13 Noach, right?
with a tlisha
Oh, each
gdola.
one starts with a new.
So remember, tlisha gdola is that note that's on top of hachai, on the top of the hay. It is something that is a velach, something that is going to tell us that this is an important word that we're going to try to emphasize. If we want to go back to our introduction on page LXVI, Tlisha Gdola is a king of a cause which leads to an effect. The origin of the cause is early and obscure, as the mark is placed on the first letter of the word, indicating antecedent factors. So if you remember, we said that Tlisha Gdola always appears at the beginning of the word. If the word has another syllable accented other than the one that the Tlisha Gdola is on, then in fact you will see two Tlishot Gdolot on top of the word. The first one always appearing at the beginning, and the second one on the accented syllable. Similarly, Tlisha Ktana always appears at the end of a word, and if there's another accented syllable, it appears earlier on as well. So because of this placement, we are assuming that something is early and is going to go on from there. It's something that tells you that there's something else that's going on before what's happening here, and that is why it always appears at the beginning of the word. So, number one, in order to preserve most species of creation, I think this is the first Tlisha Gdola we've come to. So, in order to preserve most species of creation, take to the box samples of all possible varieties and from all the living creatures, including foods and supportive substances, because they are integral to the maintenance of life, as clarified additionally by the following Mikol Basar, as well as the shape and placement of the reading mark. So, because Tlisha Gdola tells us that there's something before, well, what comes before Mikol HaChai? What comes before all of the living things? All of the things that are needed to sustain those living things. So we know that he has to have brought the food for the animals in order to have the animals there, and that's what the note is telling us. And as you'll remember, he tells us that Tlisha is also preparing for what's going to go on. So Umikol Achai, Mikol Basar. So it has to flow into the next word group that's phrased, from all flesh, number 2. This is a Ger Shayim.
My answer is what note is on Basar?
It's Ger Shayim.
Ger Shayim. I can't see that. It's blue.
Yeah, no, it's
no, you're wearing glasses then.
No.
You also?
It's only a magnifying glass.
Well, the only reason I know for sure is because I know what it means. Number 2, choose samples from all flesh to approach the ark and enter there and be preserved as indicated by the reverse direction of the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So Ger Shayim is 2 backwards, so 2 Tlisha, 2 Azlagerishes, 2 backwards looking notes next to each other. So remember, whenever we have a note that's doubled like that, we feel it's emphasizing the word, and any note that's backwards looking obviously is going to focus us backwards. So we're choosing samples from all flesh because we're going back to Mikol Achai. So what's the point he's making here? Choose samples from all flesh to approach the ark and enter there and be preserved. So the question is, what are you doing with Kol Achai? You're making sure that they are kept and preserved, and their importance is in their essence, literally from their flesh. Shnayim, a pair. This is a darga. So remember, darga is something that is going downwards, going to connect to what is going to go right after it. A pair of a kind shall represent a complete unit for progression to maintain the species. So this is something that is going to go from here onwards with the darga. It's going to go from here, and you're going to progress to what is going to be after it.
Where's the darga? Under what? No, where is the darga?
Shnaim, under the nun.
Under Shnaim. Yeah.
So again, we're going to go back to the introduction. LXV, darga number 16. Is a chief who specializes as a mediator capable to adjust to various situations by stages. Although he is flexible, compromising with respect to detail, he's also decisive, unyielding in his main objective, which emerges at the end. So the idea is that you are going from one level to another. Darga sounds like madregod, like steps, and you're going to emphasize whatever comes towards the end of that, because you're going to connect to the next word phrase. It's always something that is going to connect to either a tavir or a munach ravi'i. So it always has something else that goes after it. So a pair is going to, the pair of animals is going to lead to what's going to come out from that pair of animals. It's going to be only from them, and it's going to narrow into what that pair of each species is going to finally produce. Mikol, from most. Select from most species that you find suitable to be preserved, and you shall offer them asylum in the box, as stressed by the shape of the reading mark. Mikol has a tavir under it. Remember that tavir is the dot with the mercha underneath it, so it's signifying something that is going to be sheltered within something else. So all of the species that he's going to choose, those pairs, are going to be sheltered within the ark, as we see from the shape of the tavir.
Oh, so tavir is always
something within something, or something
Well, it looks like,
protected,
yeah.
or something protected by something.
Oh, as it looks like that's the visual one.
So
right.
that's what they're referring to, the box?
That's
the
the
box
ark,
is
right?
the
The
ark.
teva, the ark. So, tavi is a mercha, so this is a forward-looking note.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. I just want to. Oh, that might be with a
Yeah.
how do you spell belly button? Tavur. Is that like with a tet or top? It's like hard tavur.
Yeah.
Because that would make sense because that
It's a tet.
is it. Oh, because I was and tavir is what with the top. No, because it looks like a belly button and also it connects the mother to the. That would be perfect. Although a tef and a tut maybe
Tet
or
and
could
taf
be.
are, yeah.
Yeah. So that's okay.
Upper and lower expressions are the same. I'll look that up in the dictionary when I get home. Tavi, you shall bring. So this is a mercha. So a mercha is going to gently lead into what's going to go after it.
Wait a minute. Umikol achai mikol basar. How come there's no umikol basar? Wait. Umikol achai.
So remember, we said
Umikol basar. You would think. No. Did you comment on that?
we said that the slisha is always leading into something else.
So that's like instead of above, sort of. Right. Okay.
So it's not necessary because he's saying that the essence of the animal is what we're talking about, not something separate. Mikol chai, mikol basar.
Right.
We're saying that the basar is the essence of the chai.
Right.
Tavi, you shall bring. Number 5, useful plants and seeds which cannot move by themselves, you shall bring, while selecting quantities to be safeguarded, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So you're going to bring.
Is merchat tipcha?
Is merchat tipcha.
Yeah.
So you're going to bring where you're going to bring to the ark. So you have to connect what the one to the other, and tavi, you remember, isn't cutting yourself off from what we had before. So when we talked about umikol achai, we said that there was something antecedent to that you had to bring the food first. So tavi, we're bringing in that concept again because it's not separating itself from what was before. El hateva tipcha, to the box. Number 6, whatever might be useful for the future, you shall take to the box for preservation, is indicated by the shape of the reading mark. So again, tipcha integrates what had come directly before it and tells us that there was something before it. So what you're going to tavi, what you're going to bring, the food that you're going to bring, is going to go specifically to its use in the teva.
Is mercha ever by itself or no?
Yes.
It is. Mercha is. Tipcha is, but mercha is also.
So.
Because I always think of mercha. I don't think of mercha tipcha as mercha and tipcha. I think of it as mercha tipcha.
Standalone, really not. I mean,
right.
You can have a mercha and then a pashta after it.
Oh, you can.
So no, it never stands alone.
Because mercha tipcha is the name of a note, right? It's not. How should we be looking at mercha tipcha? As a mercha.
Are definitely two separate notes.
Oh really? I never think of it that way.
However, they often intimately connect. One leads into the other.
Right.
So one looks forward to the next one, and the other looks backwards to the
like
first
in a tikkun they have all the notes. Isn't mercha tipcha like a one mercha tipcha? You know, like when you learn it, it's.
You learn it as a phrase.
As a phrase, right.
As a phrase, but the phrase has two separate notes. It's not.
But I'm saying when we're doing his perush.
Because you can have tipcha mercha sof pasuk, so the mercha has to be able to stand by itself as well.
And what is mercha? Did you ever look into the meanings of tipcha can be
not.
tefach, but what?
I have not yet.
Because that will help us. These are the names of the notes. So like we did with Dargah and all. Like
doesn't seem to be something that the
Wait,
author is focused on.
No, we did that with
No.
you're just encouraging me. Oh, can I just what drink? Oh, since you're over
Getting a little, it's more to the actual parsha as opposed to the meaning of it,
Yep.
the trope. But so this implies, obviously, I guess you're bringing more than just 2 of every species because some of it's for eating. Like you're going to bring 2 cattle, but we also need to survive, so we're going to bring enough to eat as well.
Did they bring food for the
so-
show?
I
food-
knew they lived. They've been there for a year.
So the food,
Maybe till
the food up until this point is all
Animal.
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still
Um,
vegetarians.
Surrounded by all these animals, can you imagine?
That's how they became
Wait,
carnivores.
wait, 2 by 2 was only the kosher animals, but there were 7.
2 by 2
No,
is
wait,
the
7 were the
non-kosher
kosher
animals.
ones.
But we're
The
gonna
non-kosher.
get to that very soon.
You ever seen that movie that was filmed actually in Toronto it's a club? It's all illegal. It was filmed at the Woodbine Center
Yeah,
with Matthew Broderick and Marlon Brando was in it. It's this club where they eat exotic foods,
rare
rare animals.
like extinct, next to extinct species.
Is that the one where he recreated his role as the
Let's
Don
eat the
Corleone?
ark.
What?
Let's eat the ark.
New York.